Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. Today, we're going to be reviewing Living Financially Well, specifically around the topic of budgeting. This is the second webinar of a three-part webinar series for financial wellness. My name is Rachel Heredia. I'm a wellness consultant for Sharp Health Plan, and my co-presenter is Amanda Abbs.
Hi, everyone. I am a certified health and wellness coach with Best Health and Sharp Health Plan. Thank you so much for joining us for number 2 of 3 of our wellness webinars.
So during this webinar, we have 3 primary outcomes. The first is to identify a thought barrier that may be preventing you from creating or keeping to a budget. The second is to develop a framework through the know and do models and the 4 buckets models to improve your financial wellness. And we're going to review both of those models today. Create a plan to change specific behaviors around budgeting to improve your financial wellness overall. That's going to be our third outcome.
All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. When breaking down our first objective, to identify the thought barriers that a lot of us may have around budgeting. The reality is we all have feelings around budgeting, and most of it isn't great. So go ahead and take a second and look at this slide and see which one sounds like you. And if there's not one that you really identify with, feel free to take a second and write down what thought barrier usually holds you back from budgeting. Is it that budgeting means being deprived and uncomfortable? Maybe you think, I make enough money to pay my expenses, so I don't really need a budget. A budget takes too much time to maintain and I have better things to do. I have a budget and use it every month. It's easy. This is you. Congratulations. Nice work. Not me. And I've tried this whole budget thing and never stick to it. So why bother? So let's go ahead and look at how your thought patterns are created around these things and how it might interfere with the budgeting or being out of line with budgeting ideas.
So why are these thoughts coming about? Let's look through the lens of what we know and do around the budget. What do you and your financial decision-making partners know about budgeting? For example, do you know about or have a tool that keeps track of your spending? Do you know what levels of spending are appropriate for clothing, housing, food, paying off debt? Do you know how to categorize your spending? So rate what you know here. Feel free to pause the webinar and write it down. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you know about budgeting? So now let's look at what you actually do with budgeting. Do you use a tool that keeps track of your spending each month? Do you adjust spending every month proactively in order to better handle known spending, like holidays or car maintenance that may be coming up? Do you have well-defined categories of spending, and you keep track of expenses within those categories? Do you have a plan to tackle any debt that you have, and do you know exactly when that debt will be paid off? Do you review your spending at the beginning and at the end of every month? Are you able to have those tough family conversations around spending? So go ahead and on a scale of 0 to 10, rate how well do your actions align with what you know about budgeting. If you experience a misalignment, how do you think this misalignment creates the negative thoughts that we've discussed earlier?
And this may sound simple, but really the next step is to actually define what a budget is. Budget is your spending plan. It's that keen awareness to where your money is actually going. Ideally, it's something that's created by you that's in alignment with realistic expectations and goals. And it's really kind of that idea of what do you really most want out of your financial well-being. The bottom line is it really is taking control of your financial situation and your finances.
Okay, so now that we know some of the thoughts that prevent us from achieving financial wellness and what a budget actually is, let's look at some practical ways to overcome these thoughts. If we value stability and we have a vision of our family, of self-sufficiency and giving, and we have goals like having a healthy and safe retirement, then we need to align our behaviors with our spending to align with those values, vision, and goals. One tool to look at is called a bucket for every dollar. This is a method to help explain how to develop your budget, which aligns with your values, vision, and goals. So bucket number one is have to have. These are the essential items like paying the mortgage, utilities, an emergency account, or a savings account. Bucket number two is the want to have. These are the items that most of us consider being deprived of when we are forced to develop a budget. It's things like going to the movies, buying new clothes. For most of us, this is the bucket that gets us into the most trouble. We may impulse buy. For some of us, it's clothes. For others, it's going out to eat. And others, it's just purely entertainment. But we've all overspent at one time or another. This bucket helps us to limit what, for most of us, is really the key to aligning our thoughts and our behaviors. So bucket number three, that's the near-term bucket. This is those short-term costs that we all know are coming, but we don't necessarily plan for, like an insurance bill that you pay every 6 months, or a small home repair, like a dishwasher, or even a summer vacation. The bill comes, and we recognize we haven't really planned for it, so we break out the credit card. Then those negative self-perceptions begin to come up. That last bucket, that's the future bucket. So this bucket constitutes the long-term future, like retirement, maybe the next new car we're gonna buy, or that home that we've really wanted. For those of us that struggle, these are the items that most of us hope that they will just take care of themselves. We think if I just keep donating to my 401k, then I will have enough for retirement. Or we hope that our current home will go up in value enough to afford our next one. Maybe we finance some of these items with long-term loans, and even at low interest rates, we end up paying way more than the item or property is actually worth. So taking all of these 4 buckets into consideration, this really will help you align your budget with your values, vision, and financial goals.
So let's dive in just a little bit more here. And actually, if you take some time to, if you don't have a piece of paper and a pen, to write out your responses can be really helpful to help you explore this a little bit more. Take a look at each of these buckets and write down, based off of where you are right now with your financial position, which of these is the most important for you to plan for. Now, look at them and think about, where do you struggle the most? And which bucket represents that? Third, ask yourself, what are your goals? And why are these goals important to you? What is your why? And last, how can aligning your values, vision, and goals with the buckets help you to plan or to overcome the struggles that exist? And if needed, we do have a goal planning worksheet that you can access, as well as a value sheet. Sometimes it can be helpful to take a look at those values and get some ideas to really connect with what's important to you. Now we have a short little video from the Foundation for the Financial Wellness. And as we play this, keep in mind your responses and how you valued or leveled out the 4 buckets for yourself.
Great. Here's the good news. You're right. No matter which bucket you chose, you're right. And here's unfortunately the harsh reality. No one is coming to rescue you. We all pray for the quick fix. We think if we could just win the lottery, or if my unknown relative dies, then my financial situation will be better. But the truth is, actually, lottery winners are more likely to declare bankruptcy within 3 to 5 years after winning the lottery than the average American. You see, it's not about having money, it's about aligning your beliefs and behaviors and values around money. That's what allows us to collect and grow more. Here's the great part. You have control. No one is telling you how to spend your money. It's your choice. And when you align those beliefs, behaviors, and values around money, you can become unstoppable. So, at this point in the learning, some of us say, it's so overwhelming to build a budget and I need some help. If this is you, don't forget you can request your one-on-one counseling session, or if you're ready, you can access the tools and explanation needed to build a great budget.
So now that we know that we need a budget and how to set up the basic categories, it's time to get down to the hard work of actually building one. Many times we're asked, what's the best budget tool to use? The truth is, it's the one that you actually do use. So let's use the basic budget builder worksheet. This will help us get started. So the document that I'm going to reference is a very basic budget. It includes the 4 buckets that we talked about earlier. We also have a budget builder Excel worksheet. The main difference between these two is that the Excel worksheet will actually calculate the budget for you. And just keep in mind, the best budget tool that you use, if it's not one of these, is really the one that you use and use it consistently.
Absolutely. And just kind of on a side note, the image that you're seeing there on the slide is kind of just the start of what the basic budget builder worksheet, the PDF version, kind of looks like. It will actually walk you through identifying the household monthly income, and then defining, there's a space to define each of the buckets, your have to haves, your want to haves, and even provide some examples too. So also your short-term expenses and future expenses. So you can kind of really dive in to the ones that are the most important to you and really get started with aligning your values with your budget. And then in addition to that, you can also make sure that you check in with your HR department. Often whoever's in charge of your 401k benefits and financial resources with your employer has access to or provides resources for one-on-one support as well.
So with that, I want to thank you again for joining us today. You can access all the tools that Amanda referenced online where you access this webinar. And again, we thank you for your time and your attention, and we look forward to hearing from you again.
Thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.